Now, the news.
First up, Formula One will cut 2021 budget cap to $145 million. Formula One has agreed to reduce the budget cap by $30 million from its original level of $175 million, which has been revealed by Motorsport Director Ross Brawn. After a drawn-out process during 2019, the teams had agreed to a budget cap of $175 million for 2021. However, with 10 races called off this season and F1 facing a serious fall in revenue, there has been a renewed urgency to attempt to further cost cuts. Recent meetings have proposed a new ceiling of $145 million, but failed to reach an agreement. McLaren has urged the sport to act decisively in targeting a cap of $100 million, while Ferrari and Red Bull have opposed a drop below $145 million. The cap, which will come into force next year, excludes several major costs such as drivers' salaries. The cut has been agreed to help teams struggling as a result of the disruption to the start of the season, which has seen the first 10 races postponed or cancelled. F1, the FIA, and team principals held a teleconference at which changes to the sport's financial structure were discussed. Talking to Sky, Ross said that, quote, "We started at 175. That was a long battle to get it there, and with the current crisis, we're now going to start at 145. The discussion now really is how much further down we can drive the next few years." Ferrari had warned it would consider racing in other series if F1's cap was reduced to less than $145 million. Other teams such as McLaren had argued for the cap to be reduced to as little as $100 million. Brawn promised F1 smaller teams will also benefit from a much more equitable prize fund in the new agreement. Next up, Plan agreed to reduce Downforce in 2021. New sporting, technical, and financial regulations were set to come into Formula One for 2021, which would have addressed the design of F1 cars and the downforce effects in a bid to improve the quality of racing. However, those regulations have now been pushed back until 2022, since no racing has yet been possible so far in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The report states that teams are concerned that the performance of the existing cars will be too much for the 13-inch Pirelli tires, which will remain in use. Teams rejected the new compounds that were designed for 2020, meaning they will continue to use the 2019 rubber for this year and 2021. The new generation of cars for 2022 would then see a switch to 18-inch tires. The report states that a proposal to reduce the load on the tires by introducing technical changes to the bodywork, floor, and wings to cut downforce levels was agreed. These changes will reportedly be approved at a meeting between team principals next week. The report also states that a token system was discussed, like what was used when the V6 turbo hybrid engines were brought into Formula One 6 years ago, therefore limiting the development programs which teams can run. Next, Magnussen believes enforcing safety measures for Formula One restart will be tricky. Kevin Magnussen says Formula One faces a tricky situation of implementing safety measures to start the 2020 season, amid the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. The start of the new campaign has been put on hold, with the opening 10 races of the year called off. F1 is currently structuring a new calendar that would see the season kick off in Austria in July, with the aim of completing up to 18 races before the end of the year. However, there are some concerns regarding the amount of personnel F1 needs to have at a circuit in order for a weekend to operate, from team staff to FIA officials to trackside marshals. Magnussen says it will be complicated for the sport to pull off, but affirmed that he is open to all measures if it means getting the season underway. He said, quote, "It's going to be tricky. It's going to be a big job to get it done, but anything it takes to get back to racing. I'm up for it. We need to do everything we can to ensure that we do it in a safe way for everyone. It's not ideal, but it's better than not racing by a long way." Lastly, budget cap will make F1 sustainable but still Premier Series, says Ferrari. Formula One's budget cap will ensure the championship remains sustainable for each team, according to Ferrari, who will retain its status as the premier motorsport category. Prior to the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, Formula One had signed off on implementing financial regulations for the first time in its history, to be introduced in 2021. A figure of $175 million, excluding some costs relating to engine development, marketing, and driver salaries, had been agreed, in a bid to control excessive levels of spending. But the pandemic has already prompted a rethink, and the cap is poised to be reduced to $145 million. Formula One had planned to hold a 22 Grand Prix season this year, but this figure will now not be reached due to the pandemic. Championship officials remain hopeful that 15 to 18 races can still be held, but have cautioned that the campaign will begin without fans. It means that sanctioning fees are likely to be renegotiated, which will mean a drop in Formula One's overall revenues, and thus a reduction in the prize money distributed to teams. And that's been today's video. To keep up with Formula One news, please hit that like button and the subscribe button, and follow us on Instagram at @BanterSteiner. Apart from that, we hope you enjoyed the video, hope you have an awesome day, and until next time, goodbye.